John, go ahead.
Yeah, we got some money decisions. Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to let go? And who do you spend it on?
Okay, here's the number. If all the Padres who are eligible enter free agency or opt out, Padres will have $65 million in budget space to use. That sounds sexy. That sounds sparkling, but it's not 65 million. They have 7 guys arbitration eligible. That's going to eat up 22 million of that. That includes the Morion contract, etc. They have 19 million owed to Pivetta because he structured his deal economically favorable first year, massive pay bump second year. That is going to eat into that. There's ways to handle this. This might be sacrilegious to say, but Yu Darvish, with all those miles on his arm, has not been the same pitcher for 3 full seasons. He's got $48 million left on his contract. I would ask Darvish to give money back and maybe instead of all that hard cash, restructure it and put some incentive clauses if he has a bounce back season for him to earn some of that money. We don't know what Musgrove is going to be like. He's got a long-term extension. I'd go to him and ask him to take less hard cash, flip it to incentive clauses. If Java Joe becomes Java Joe this coming season, we just don't know that situation. I like Cease. I'm not giving Cease a pay raise. I want Cease to take a pay cut. I'd give Cease incentives that could push him to 15 million if vintage Dylan Cease has a good season next season. In terms of Michael King, 7.7 million. I would bump him some, maybe up to 10, and I'd give him incentives that could push him to 15 if he became a banner full season starter with no problems. Tough call on Suarez because you do have Mason Miller. If he opts out, you can always go back and negotiate and say, hey, we paid you 10, I'll give you 12, I'll give you incentives that could get you to 15 if you have another banner season. I don't know whether he'd accept that. But what I'm trying to do is creatively create money, back end load it, if you will, if these guys have superb seasons and put this team maybe in the World Series. I like Arise, but I'm not bringing Arise back at 14 million. Let Arise go. Creatively, with money left, go find some type of bat with power. First baseman, maybe left fielder. I would trade Campusano. I would go back abroad and see if they can find another gem of a pitcher in Japan, in Taiwan, in China. Historically, boots on the ground, Preller has found guys who've come in and been very productive there. They got to move money around. I think that's the way to do it. John, you tell me your reaction to my version of new math 2026 Padre Payroll.
Well, first of all, before we get into the numbers, that Monopoly Man guy kind of looks like some relation in the Hacksaw family. Is that your distant cousin with all the money?
That's right. He's the one that made it and I didn't.
So, I've seen these spreadsheets. I think Kevin Acee, or is it Jeff Passan, from the in the media, have produced these spreadsheets that show the dollar figure for all the starting pitchers and the infielders and outfielders and the bench guys. And it's really interesting to see it laid out like that. But, you've got a lot of deals that are suddenly going to become really heavy. I mean, like Pivetta is going from like 1 to 19 or 1 to 20 million. And then Machado's creeping up towards like close to 40 million a year. I mean, so I'm curious to see how all those things stack up. But to your point, should they get creative, looking for, boots on the ground, looking in Asia? They just signed a kid from, I think it was either China or Taiwan, just recently. So that's new news. That's good to see. But in the end, you going back to Musgrove or Darvish and trying to renegotiate a deal, that's a tough call. I mean, if they're willing to do it, and both of those guys seem like, quote, team players, they might be, but how much would it free up? So those guys signed a contract. They expect to be paid for the contract, and the contract, like in Musgrove's case, is $100 million guaranteed. He's not going to say, hey, you know what, just give me $50 million and I'll do the rest on incentives. He's not going to do that. So I don't know. They're in a tough spot.
they're in a tough spot because of the contracts gave out. And I've always used the phrase that credit card bill eventually comes due. And
It
that's where the
does.
Padres are right now. But at the end of the day, you can do something deferred, you do something incentives. I'm sorry, Cease is really coming off a crap year. I'm not paying him 14 million or 18 million. King has got an injury history here now that we have to be worried about. Musgrove, you can creatively finance. Maybe you do it with deferrals, or maybe you just do it with bonuses if he can be what he can be. But I mean, Darvish has had 3 straight years of elbow problems. A lot of people fail to realize Darvish has thrown 3,080 innings over 20 years. I think he's got an arthritic condition in the elbow that's never, ever going to be the
Yeah.
same again. So, therefore, the contract that was is not what Darvish is right now and what Darvish is going to be going forward. That's how I would do it. Agree or disagree with the Arise scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I let a rise go. I mean, because remember, we always had like one too many position players or hitters. We were always having to sit O'Hearn or or Rise or Sheets or someone like that. So they need to move one of those guys. Rise makes sense to me, and I know he's bitter. He'd love to stay in San Diego. He loves it here. So I don't know. Cease is some guy that I would walk away from. Became very distrustful of the way he pitched. Even when we first got him, we knew had this talent, and he would sputter. He would show flashes of brilliance and struggles. He had the no hitter, and then he'd had struggle. So I think you let him go. I still think they've got some like hidden bullets in the gun. There are guys like Mason Miller, Adrian Morejon, and maybe even like Brian Hoeing that might be a starter for you. And that way you can get guys that can start that would not necessarily be 20 million a year guys. You're going to have some other dudes do it. And then you can backfill and you can make like, I don't know, hypothetically Estrada your closer, or Jason Adam your closer when he comes back. And then you just got to find some middle relief help. But they've got a way to convert closers to starters. And then if you lose a Cease, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay, that sounds great in history, but Morion was a starter beset by injuries for 6 or 7 years. He's found a niche. I don't think, from a health standpoint, he can run the risk and say, we want you to go out and throw 5, 6, 7 innings because he kept breaking down. Mason Miller was a starter, physically broke down, flipped him into a setup closer guy where he's excelled. I don't know that I want to dabble with guys who have injury history when they were doing the other thing, when you've really locked them in to certain things here. Okay, let's see
Our
what
starters have injury history. Darvish and Musgrove, they're all hurt. I mean, that's just the nature of pitching. So Morejon, when we spent $11 million to sign him and paid the $11 million international bonus tax, that's a $22 million investment. You don't expect that for like a 7th inning high leverage reliever. I mean, you want that dude to be one of your core 5 starters. So I don't have any problem with like converting some of these guys up to be starters. Obviously, Ruben Niebla is going to know what's best. The players are going to know how their body is going to react. Morejon may have come to grips with the fact that, yeah, I'm a reliever. I'm never going to be able to be a starter, but they should explore those opportunities because from a general manager perspective, there's not enough money to make the whole roster fit, and you're going to have to get creative. And I think that's the Padres need to be creative. You just can't keep going to the bank and signing big name guys, every time there's a free agent. You've got to develop your guys and you got to bring them through the organization.
Good luck with that because he traded the organization 4 times in 11 years. He's done that. Okay.
Yeah.
Padre fans are
Restock.
invited. We put topics on the table. We express opinions. We use the talk show phrase, I'm hitting your hot button. I want you to get ready now to join us in Fans Forum. The chat box is open. If you want to argue with us about what we just proposed, you got your own spin on what they should do. Feel free to add into the conversation. Fans Forum coming up right at the end of this podcast. John, we got